Hey, everybody. Welcome to this session. I'm so jacked to be on here with you, John.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm happy to be here. And we are both named John, and we are same side of the boothing this thing. And it is awkward. As awkward as for you to watch, that's how awkward this is.
But it's not going to be confusing.
No.
Because you're the one with 2 PhDs. You're the one that knows what's going on. And I'm here just to field the questions.
It's really cool when your coworker says, hey, will you do a webinar to several thousand people and let me sit 7 inches away from you? And I'm like, sure, Falcons, pull up a seat. Let's do this.
This is really obviously an issue for you, but we'll get to that later. Our main issue, our main topic today is talking about how to overcome burnout. And we know that that's a very real thing for business owners. And so as much as we're goofballs, we know that this is a real problem. And we're looking forward to diving into it today and talking with everybody.
And before you just click off, up until a year or two ago, if I heard the word burnout, I just rolled my eyes.
You're burnout on burnout?
Yeah, it just looked like one of those things that you see on a cover of a magazine as you're checking out a grocery. Just burnout. Shut up, man. Right? And so we're going to redefine burnout.
I picked the title of this one.
I know
so you're telling me to shut up.
But
basically.
we're gonna reimagine this thing today.
Yeah. Yep, I love it. Well, hey, we know everybody's logging on right now. I just want to hit a couple housekeeping points, if you don't mind. We want you to get a ton out of this. So what you need to do is just like get the distractions turned off, okay? Turn off your phone, turn off all of the dings and the buzzes and all of those things with your email and other notifications. Also, you've got a worksheet for today, okay, so that you can follow through. Use the worksheet. Write this stuff down. Jot down some notes. Jot down your questions. Make sure that you capture all of that. And we do want it to be a conversation. We got a whole team of folks back here in the production booth. They're going to be capturing your questions. Make sure you put those in there. And to start, I want to ask a couple questions just to make sure the keyboard works right. So would you share with us what your name is, where you're from, and what your business is? And if you've got a question, go ahead and fire that off too. But just let us know who you are, where you're from, and what your business is. That'd be awesome.
Outstanding.
Yep. So here, while you guys do that, what I want you to know is it's a big deal that you're on here, that you took action, that you did something. I know sometimes you don't feel like that, but you took action, and that is amazing because you're not going to win. You're not going to see things get better unless you intentionally cause that to happen. Success is not an accident. It's an intentional act. So just way to go. Good job on being here. It doesn't happen on its own. Really, the stuff that we're talking about, EntreLeadership, where we're coming from, is how we run this business. Our whole thing is to help you win. That's based on EntreLeadership. That's how Dave Ramsey started this business. It's how he runs it. He put it all in a book called EntreLeadership, just like we do around here. Made up a good word, included that, wrote a book about it, and that's how this company is run. And so that's what we want to share with you today. It's working pretty well. It's not theory. 11 years in a row, we've been the best place to work in Nashville. And so this is a phenomenal set of principles. It's phenomenal information. And it's not a silver bullet, but it can really help you if you do something with it.
I think more than a silver bullet, it's a way of being, right?
Yeah.
It's a way of approaching problems. And that means you don't do everything perfect. You don't do everything right. You got to go back and say, I'm sorry. You got to start over again. You got to clear the deck again. But it's a way to approach doing business and doing life at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the truth of the matter is business and leadership is nothing more than just life, but in this crucible of the marketplace.
That's right.
And so the stakes are high, and we get that. We want you to get a ton out of it. And here's what we're going to be talking about today. Here's what you're going to learn. Why business owners are at a higher risk of burnout than people that aren't. We know the stakes are high for you. How to overcome exhaustion and overwhelm. It's like a hive of bees, all the things that are going on in a business, trying to keep up with it, trying to keep track of it. You got these teams, you got demands, you got numbers, all of it. It's a lot. We absolutely get that. We also know that you can get detached from your mission. You can wander off from why you started this thing. One of my longtime favorite client friends, a guy named Brian, and he would tell you that he ran a hair care airport tire repair services business. and I would be like, what is that? And he realized he would just do whatever it took to make money.
Yeah.
And he looked up one day and he's like, I'm all over the place. We've lost sight of our mission. And so we're going to talk about that today. And then also, and I know you're going to dive deep on this, but just like the very real pandemic that isolation is for people.
Man, yeah.
And what it does to us as individuals, and why it is a very real problem as a leader. And so if those things interest you, you're concerned about those things, even if you've got team members that you're keeping an eye on because you think these things might be an issue for them, saddle up, stick with us throughout this entire thing. We're going to take your questions at the end, but we're going to dive deep on what's going on. And I know that you've got content that you came loaded to bear, so I want to get to it.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing you talk at our event at Summit recently.
Yeah.
You had fire in your eyes about this subject.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this important to you? Why do you get so worked up about this stuff when you're talking to business owners?
So I've led massive teams, right? I think in my last job before I came to Ramsey Solutions, I had 400 or 500 employees in my division and 50 to 60, $70 million portfolio. It was big, right? It was just moving.
Yeah.
And behind that was my nerd world, my academic research. And I spent years, almost 2 decades worth, meeting with college presidents and lawyers and attorneys and pastors and small business leaders and single mom, people who are trying to make it happen either in their house or in their small business or on a big scale. And dude, they're just melting down.
Yeah.
Right? They are just melting down. And as a trained counselor, they would teach us how to help somebody one-on-one or maybe a small group. And it occurred to me in my academic program, man, if I can help a business leader be okay, if I can help them look in the mirror and be okay, if I can help their marriage, the way they're parenting, that whole system is okay, right?
Yeah.
So if you can help business leaders exhale a little bit, right? Then you help hundreds or thousands of other people. You help those customers have a good interaction, right?
Therefore, that person is a force multiplier in their community.
On a major scale.
Yeah.
And when you're a force multiplier, the force against you taking care of yourself is tenfold.
It goes both ways.
It goes the other way, right? Dave Ramsey can't pick up a phone book and think, I'm going to go find a counselor. He can't do that, right? So the pressure on him is to just keep turtling up and keep turtling up and keep getting quiet. Yeah. And that's everybody watching this, right?
Absolutely.
So here's where we are.
Yep.
And it's a messy, messy moment in history, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. I think what you've got to say is phenomenal.
By the way, I'm waving to the crew out here in the booth here.
Yes.
There's a whole team of us.
Yep.
Make that there you go. So hey, we're waving down.
Fire away.
So here's just a personal story that I found myself. I was teaching grad school a few years ago at a large university in Texas. And I did something I never do. I left my cell phone on during class. That's one of my rules, turn your cell phones off. And I left mine on like an idiot. And my phone started ringing during class. All my students were like, ooh. And I pulled my phone up and it was a father of one of my students. And I knew exactly what this call was. And so I stepped out in the hall. I took the call. They said, we can't find him. I've been working with this person's son. And it was like maybe 25, 26, right? I knew what this meant. I canceled class and I took off running. I'm in a suit, tie, and I'm running across campus. The campus police met me at this student's residence hall at the graduate hall. Wasn't there. We ended up contacting Apple and we traced the phone all night. Ultimately, I went to bed that night, couldn't find him. We did know that he had gone over a couple of states to a camping ground where they had used to camp as kids. I knew as a guy who shows up in crisis, this wasn't great.
Yeah.
The next morning, I get a call on my cell phone from Dad. Dad's ecstatic, so happy, screaming, we found him. He turned the phone on. And I said, have you talked to him? And he's like, oh, not yet, but he turned the phone on. Then my office phone started ringing. So I say, hold on. I'm excited. I'm a dad too. I'm so relieved. I grabbed my office phone and I say, John Deloney's office, can I help you? And the voice on the other phone said, my name is so-and-so. I'm a sergeant with State Police Department. We have found the body of your student and we wanted to let you know. And I'll never forget that moment sitting there with Dad on this phone, screaming with joy, and the police officer right here. And I found myself in this space. It was this gnarly, gritty space between hope and truth, hope and reality, right? And that phrase, hope and truth, that space between there has just become reality for me over the last 4 or 5 years as I'm working with more business leaders and more business leaders and more people trying to take care of their families. We hope things are going to suddenly get better, right? We hope things will finally calm down, right? Or we hope that our marriages are just going to suddenly fix themselves, right? Or that there's never going to be an economic correction, even though it looks like a real good one's brewing, right? We hope that our kids are just going to magically love us, that our employees will never have personal problems, or that our customers, they're just going to tell their friends how great we are, and they'll tell their friends. We don't even have to market anymore, right? Yep. We hope that we can eat whatever we want, whenever we want, scroll whatever we want, never work out. We're always going to stay smoking hot. Our knees and our backs will never hurt. We'll never have to deal with our past, the stories we were born into, the stories we told ourselves, the stories we were told. Oh, and we hope there will never be car wrecks or cancer and other nonsense, other frustrations. But the truth is, that's life, right? As you mentioned, this past summer, I spoke at Entre. It was a weird thing to put a mental health guy on a business stage, right? You got Jocko and President, all these guys that are like, step into a Slim Jim. And then there's like me walking at weight, right?
But let me just tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt. Somebody who has a ton of conversations with business owners.
That's right.
It's not weird at all.
Right. Well, when I looked at it, I remember thinking, what are you doing there, Dwight? Right?
Yeah.
And it has been both heartbreaking and, man, it's been one of the most joyful seasons hearing the back end of that.
Yeah.
Hundreds, if not thousands of people circling back saying, hey, we had to go home and change our families. We had to go change our businesses, how we run things, because whoa, right? We all are in this season right now, right? So we're going to continue that conversation today. We started at Summit. We're going to continue it today. And here's my promise. I hope, like you too, I got 2 little kids. I'm running a business. I'm with you. But I'm going to tell you the truth. My promise is to be honest, but also, and not just be honest and be another like ringing the bell, like, I'm going to give you some tools that you can use right now for handling whatever is going to come your way. So I want everyone to zoom out. And by the way, if you can't stop what you're doing and listen right now and just be reflective, put your phones down. I know some of you have 8 screens going and this is in the background. Then this meeting is especially for you. And if you can't, man, you've got to look at your ecosystem even bigger if you can't take an hour and a half for yourself, okay? This is especially for you. So we are more than halfway through 2021. I can't even wrap my head around that.
Yeah,
we are 8 months out of 2020, which is bananas. I've seen 3 types of folks, okay? Those who hit the gas in March of 2020, right? Yep. Pivoted, figured things out, redesigned your businesses, you laid people off, you hired more people, you did masks, you didn't do masks, you hung in there. For many of you, this is like the big secret. You had the best year of your careers, right? You don't want to be jerks, so you all say it in a whisper, but it has been more customers, more clients, more money, and now you're scrambling to keep up with it, and it's been nuts. You made a couple of acquisitions, you bought a company was about to, the checks are depositing. You bought a new house, you got a new lease on a new warehouse, you got a new car, and so on and so on. And then there's the second type of person. The last 18 to 20 months has crippled you. You ran restaurants, you ran tourist-based businesses, studios, karate gyms, whatever. Your entire identity was based on how hard you worked, your ability to grind, right? And your craft. You're an expert. You were out there helping people. And then one day the government just came and said, you're not essential. Just stay home. We'll send checks. We don't need you right now, right? We want you to head back to the bench. We don't need you on the court. And now you're looking around in ash, right? You drove Uber for 18 months and now it's not a long-term solution. And you're looking at the balance sheets just going like this and you got that pit of your stomach, like it's here. Then there's the third type of person. You got promoted. People left and quit and now you're doing the job of 2 or 3 or 5 people, right? I have someone in my life who I love dearly. They've been promoted twice in the last 18 months. No new money, of course. It's like when Dwight got moved from assistant to the regional manager to assistant manager. No new money, no new business cards. We're not going to tell anybody, but hey, that's your new job title, right? She works upwards of 20 hours a day, suddenly managing large teams, massive responsibilities, and without thinking, things became wildly unsustainable, right? But everyone keeps going, congratulations, you're the new VP, right? Or some of you, nothing happened. Same job, same place. You're just absorbed in everyone else's tension whirling around you. And this is just your professional life. No one's talking about how each of you have your own marriages and partnerships and friendships and your things are challenging. You are dangerously lonely. Kids, parents, friends, little league games. Do we play, not play? Well, family members gotten sick, who've passed away, travel, everything canceled, everything back on, everything. Divorces, church messes, can't go to the gym. You lost employees. You're trying to find new ones. Everyone wants to work from home. And we lost one of my favorite people here the other day. She just said, hey, I got a new job. I'm going to move to Alaska and live out of a camper for a while. See you later, right? I'm going to write code under the stars with a moose or whatever, right? But school from home, Zoom school, work from home. Now we're back in the office. Now we're back home. Lots of drama about the economy and COVID coming back or not. All of your student loans are going to go away. They're not. The other day, I talked with Dave Ramsey on the radio, and he said something powerful. He said, man, our company has made more money in the last 18 months than it has ever.
Right.
And he is walking through every moment of his life, looking over his shoulder, waiting for the next shoe to drop, right? That's the definition of trauma, okay? So here's what's super important. I don't care if you've had the best year of your life, the worst year of your life, or you've been swimming and running and grinding and clawing, conference calling so hard you haven't even looked up. I promised I'd tell you the truth, and I promise I'm not an alarmist. This is all of us, right? This is you. This is me. This is all the folks in the booth. And we head home, we log off our computers, we go upstairs, we hop on the couch, either alone or next to somebody that we love, and he or she's on their iPad, I'm on my cell phone, and we find ourselves 2 inches apart, but 2,000 miles away. Or you live alone, and I don't even have the tools to reach across this disconnection, so I grab a bunch of trash to eat, I keep scrolling, I buy something on Amazon for the dopamine hit, or I become friends with the folks on Schitt's Creek, or like, dude, are you a murder podcast guy?
No. I did that one. What was the one a while back? I've listened to one.
The kindest people I know are walking around with their earbuds in all the time, like murder podcast, right? We're fried, cooked, and exhausted. The word I'm hearing more and more from across the country than I've ever heard it is burnout. I'm seeing and hearing exhaustion. Not tired, but exhausted, right? And so I said this earlier, whenever I hear the word burnout, I usually just roll my eyes. It's like, oh, whoa, you're tired. It's called work. It's called busy. It's called hustle. It's called suck it up, right? Man, right. One of my buddies who's on my high school football team, he's on this event today. He's watching. Dude, we grew up like, just do it, right? Here's the thing, man. I find myself trying to explain existential things to my 5-year-old daughter, right? I personally experience these things. Suddenly I find myself, my heart's racing. I'm gripping the steering wheel and I'm driving. I'm yelling at somebody in a metal box going 90 miles an hour down the highway that cannot hear me, but I'm telling them what they can go do with their, right? What their mom can get, right? I'm hearing more from people that they'd rather just watch a TV show and go to sleep than have sex with their spouse, right? People are melting down. And so, Falcons, we have this awesome tool. We have a one solution tool. It's called self-care. Ooh, self-care. Listen, that's the stupidest self-care. You know what you need to do? You need to take some you time. My wife went to a counselor about a decade ago, dealing with some major trauma, major loss. And after she unloaded on this poor therapist, the therapist said, and I quote, have you thought about taking some you time? Maybe a warm bath and a candle? And my wife, dude, she's kind of hardcore. She just said she looked at the therapist and just got up and walked out of. Right now, that therapist is in therapy, and she's like, I don't know what happened. She just left, just walked away, right? So, hey, help me out here. What are some of the cheesiest? Like, I know you're a big mani-pedi guy, right? So whenever things get stressful, Falcons is like, hey, mani-pedi time, guys, I'm out of here.
Did I not just tell you what I'm doing? You asked me about going hunting, and I just told you.
And he said, and I quote, I'm not a hunter. I'm not really an outdoorsy guy.
No,
I'm more of an inside guy.
That is not. They can tell by the shade of our skin that you're the guy that never gets outside.
I'm an inside guy, right? Or I use sunscreen because I care about my future, but whatever. Right?
But not.
But right. But it could be going to Home Depot. Let's get a massage. Like, we just need to do a yoga class. But a buddy of mine who's an executive, right, said he used to go get deep tissue massage, 90 minutes. It would help a tiny bit. And he'd be amped up by the time he got home, right? There's a $1 trillion industry trying to convince you that you just need a little TLC or treat yourself or whatever, fix an unsustainable life, screwed up relationships, and or systems in need of correction with just the right milkshake or whatever, dude. We fixed ourselves by like running to the beach this summer. You can just look at try to get an Airbnb this summer at the beach, and they finally open up. Everyone was like, oh, I'm going and that'll solve it. It's not, right? Or the people who buy the new day planners, with about 800 ribbons. By the way,
You have a vengeance against the ribbons.
I'm calling enough on the ribbons and the day planners. You need one. You need a bookmark. Other than that, you're good. You're good. Here's the deal. For $19.95, I'll mail you a pom-pom and you can just shove it in any book that you want to, ribbon people. Or a new class, a new workout routine, for some of you, right, you're fantasizing about a new job, a new partner, another drink, another Netflix series. You become best friends with Joe Rogan or whatever, Peterson, who's that guy?
Jordan Peterson,
right? Or some Zoom pastor, Brene Brown. Like these cults are forming around people just with their earbuds in all day, and they just download these people that they don't even know, right? Doing a one-off thing, self-carry things. Man, it's like if you pour Drano down the drain once in a while, it'll clear it, right? But if all you do is just pour Drano every single day, eventually you're going to eat your pipes away. If you try to solve some of these things by just doing one-offs all the time, eventually you corrode everything and it becomes an unfixable mess. So I want everyone to exhale, big breath. And I know this is the longest webinar intro in history, but I want to make sure we set the stage here, right? We're all in this boat together.
Yep.
I don't care if you make $1 billion. I don't care if you make hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't care if you're a single mom trying to figure out where you're going to put 3 kids this fall because 2 of them are going back to school, 1 of them is not, whatever. Today, we're going to redefine burnout. I'm going to give you some concrete ways to identify it in yourself. I'm going to give you some concrete steps you can do starting today. I got a stack of books over here. I'm going to give you a reading list that I think will help. And then we're going to spend some time getting through as many of your questions as possible because I want to address exactly what's going on in your heart and your mind right now. Right? Okay, so what is burnout? The term burnout was coined by the American psychologist Herbert Freudenberger in the 1970s, right? I want you to stop thinking about burnout as mental fatigue, as a thing you just run and fix, as a character issue or a mental health issue. It can be all of those things, but that's not really what it is at its foundation. For the most part, our bodies were designed to solve problems in one of a few ways. Fight the problem, run from the problem, or freeze in the face of the problem, right? So imagine 10,000 years ago, you wake up and at the front of a cave, there's a bear, right?
Yep.
Or if you're John's wife, you open your eyes every morning and you're like, it looks like a bear. Oh, it's just my husband, John, right?
That got oddly personal.
We are sitting 4 inches apart. So you open your eyes
this whole thing.
And you see a bear. Your body kicks into high gear, right? It floods your body with cortisol, adrenaline, other hormones designed to get the crap out of there, right? Or if you can't run, to grab a rock or a stick, your body's muscles are primed to fight. And if you realize you can't fight the bear, your body will hit pause and it will freeze, right? The bear will come in, literally, it'll eat your leg and then it'll drag you out of the cave into a pile of leaves. Your body's willing to trade a leg and a ton of pain right now for the possibility of being alive tomorrow. That's our body's way of solving problems. It's the operating system we have. So think about a typewriter, that's us, and we have plugged Windows. I don't know, my wife says I live in the wrong century, so I don't know what a new operating system is.
I don't know where you're going from typewriter, but I'll help you out.
You plug an Apple Mac laptop in it, and you try to solve it that way, right? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Right? So you fast forward it to now, you've been trying to wade through HR issues on Zoom calls, or some guy in your organization just contacted OSHA to complain because you wouldn't let him bring his support iguana to in-person meetings, right? Or you get angry emails about the lack of, I don't know, gluten-free or vegan or keto snack options in the break room vending machine. Will, that's him back there. Your annoying late employee comes in again, and you feel that emotional rise.
Right.
You get pissed, you get angry, and you get frustrated, whatever. Or you get cut off in traffic, or you haven't seen people in days, and then you get served like papers by your spouse. Your body has a series of chemicals that say, it's go time, or let's get out of here, or I can't deal with them today. But when you're a boss, most places, you can't hit your employees. Sometimes though, man. You can't go anywhere because you're the boss. It's your business, right? It's the busy season, or you just have to deal. Or you can't control the snack options or the traffic patterns. And I know it's cool to say, I'll just fire him, but there's a labor shortage right now, right? Or you can fire him, but you just have to pick up the slack. And
or you're related to him.
Or it's your son, right? Or worse, it's your spouse, right? So you think about fight or flight or freeze, running, fighting, or don't move. Your body experiences these stressors. It floods the field with chemicals. In our modern world, that guy shows up late and you go, I emailed him back, right? Or I jump in my truck and I go to the stop sign and I sit and then I wait for my turn. And then I get into I-65 out here and I sit in traffic like this, right? Or I go on social media and I don't like that. My body floods it with fight chemicals and I thumbs down the hell out of it, right? I mean, like, I'll show you, right? Or we send mean emails, or I'll text my wife, right? Congratulations, everybody. Or we have a drink, we numb it out, right? And all of a sudden, dude, I never thought of it this way until I recently ran across some new scholarship here. Our bodies are fighting and freezing or sprinting all the time.
Yeah.
And we sit in a cubicle, right? We go plumb somebody's house. We have to send emails all day. We have to tuck our shirts in and be cordial to one another so they don't file complaints on us, right? Oh, and by the way, our media ecosystem has a vested interest in keeping these fight or flight chemicals. So even when we're not at work, when we're not at home, the way we stay plugged in with the world is designed to make us go like this, right?
Yeah, another $1 trillion industry that is...
It's vested, has a vested interest in us going, oh, what's happening, right? And that's a recipe for deep exhaustion. Not tired, right? I needed some sleep, but exhausted. Nothing's helping me. I'm running as fast as I can. I'm treading water as hard as I can. I'm fighting everything, and I'm not getting any closer to solving this problem. Man. And the only escape we have is to either unplug, right? I'm moving to Alaska, dude. I'm out of here. Or just trying to get some information, man. You can't even get news without being bombarded by climate change or Republicans or Democrats or China overseas or inflation, the economy or murderers or whatever, COVID, right? Your body gears up to fight, your body gears up to run, and there's nowhere to go. And you take this work with more and more annoying customers, more HR issues, more Amazon's just encroaching, right? More. And then that's burnout. When your body says, I'm out, right? Or like Cartman in the old South Park cartoon, when your body just says, screw you guys, I'm going home. Like, I'm out, right? Burnout is when your body disconnects from itself. It's not about mental weakness. It's not about cowardice or a new yoga class. Those can help, but we're working with primitive operating systems. So you have to deal with the chemicals. You have to solve burnout in a whole different way, not through numbing, avoidance, or a little self-care. Burnout is the result of unfinished business. It piles up and piles up and piles up. This is a gross analogy, dude, but it's like going to the bathroom and the sewer's backed up. Eventually, it starts coming out in your shower, comes out in your sink, and it fills up your house, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to stop thinking about burnout as some cheesy, lame, non-real thing. It's very real. It's a physical, mental, and spiritual response that we are designed to have, and we got to be intentional about solving that problem, not all these other things, right?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, come on.
You talked early on about hope and how hope, just hoping isn't going to solve that.
Yes.
And now you're talking about what burnout actually is, what it looks like, what it feels like. I'm just sitting here thinking, I've never talked to anybody that has had this conscious decision where they say, I feel this way, but I'm hoping that today is going to be different. It feels like to me, it seems like to me in working with people, this is a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
It's like we go into this autopilot. It is based on hope, but it's not that we're consciously making this decision, is it? We just keep showing up.
Our brains, it's a remarkable thing about your brain. The part of your brain that detects threat, detects it before you see it, detects it before you process it. Okay. And when it detects threat, it literally unhooks your thinking part of your brain.
Right.
Because it didn't want you seeing that bear and going, I wonder if that's a nice cuddly bear. Or I wonder if that's a petting bear.
Right.
It just wanted you to run. Right?
Yeah.
So if you believe in evolution, those who sat there and thought, I wonder if that's a nice bear, they're dead, right? Those who just started fighting or running survived, right?
Yeah.
So the threat part of your brain unhooks the thinking part. So you're right. We are in constant autopilot.
Yeah.
And you know what I do when we're in autopilot? I just look to get to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And we'll talk about this later, but one of the greatest myths of our time is if I can just, right?
Yeah.
If I can just get to, right?
Yeah.
As soon as this week's over, it will,
right? Yeah.
I'm the worst. If I can just finish this, then, dude, it just keeps coming, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I want to be very, very clear. I don't care how big your company is. I don't care how big your family is. I don't care if you're single. I don't care anything. You have to deal with this or it will kill you. It will destroy your teams, your families. It will destroy your legacy and your generations. You hear about trauma being generational.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. It will end your business. It will hurt your kids and extended families. I don't care how tough you are, right? Unaddressed burnout will kill you, right? So I'm going to shout out here. This is the first book I'd recommend. It's by the Nagotsky sisters. They wrote this book. It's remarkable. I've been working with trauma and leaders and families and kids for years, and I've worked closely with mentors and trauma researchers. So I've been living this stuff. I've known these things, but these two put it all together in a simple, elegant masterpiece on burnout. The book is geared towards women. I got a ton out of it. Okay. It's a remarkable book that I recommend. It's called The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Code. We'll link to it somewhere in something or other. I don't know. I run a radio show, so I would say we'll link to it in the show notes. This is a show note, so it's cool, man. So using their framework, here's how to know when you're burned out. Because some of you are watching this, hundreds of you are watching this being like, I'm burned out, whatever. Number one, you have a deep sense of apathy. Nothing I do matters. Here's the magic phrase. It will always just be this way. As a counselor, when somebody says, this is just the way this is, that is a clear directional point towards somebody struggling with depression.
I heard somebody say once, some Franciscan monk or somebody say, the antidote to burnout isn't rest, which you've already said, going to the beach. It's wholeheartedness. Seems like to me,
and every thousands of business leaders just went, oh, geez, wholehearted. We're going to hug.
But that's the opposite of apathy, isn't it?
That's exactly right. It's intentionality, right? Apathy is things begin to feel pointless, right? And we were just talking about it. We all live under this myth that if I can just get the next car, just pay off my mortgage, just get this report done, just get this presentation done, just get this employee out of here. If I could just get the right administrative structure, then things will be okay. You are lying to yourself over and over with the line of, and then, or when I can just, or if I can just. That is a lie, okay? It just keeps moving and moving and moving and moving. And we finally realize nothing I do matters. This won't stop. This is going to keep coming, right? There will always be employee problems, always have to have hard conversations in my marriage. It's when you go, that's when you know. That's a sign number one of burnout. Sign number two of burnout, we've talked about it a little bit, it's exhaustion, overwhelmed, right? No matter how much you sleep, how many vacations you take, how many massages you get, you just can't shake that soul fatigue, right? You feel sluggish, tired all the time. You find yourself saying, is what it is, or you scream and yell to solve problems because you have to overcompensate for it. And so you have to lunge at people, right? Or when you feel like you can't work out, you got no interest in sex, you just stick your kids in front of a screen and you're like, whatever, dude. Hey, I'm gonna sign you up for another camp, another sporting event. So y'all just go do that, right? I'm gonna outsource my kids to electronics, to digital babysitters, or I'm gonna outsource my kids to other grownups in my community because I'm exhausted, right? Hey, and real quick, I want to connect a few dots. This is fun for me. So generally speaking, your muscles, we're going to be nerdy for a second.
Okay.
But so, I know people will go, oh no, okay? Generally speaking, your muscles are fueled by glycogen and fats, right? Glycogen is just stored glucose, sugar, right? And now, why do we crave cheap sugar, snacks, simple carbs, things in packages all the time, right? Our bodies are primed to fight or to run. It's called, right? It needs energies, right? It's called glucose. I need energy now, right? So when your body is gearing up for a fight, but there's no fight. Here knows there's a fight. Your fight part of your body doesn't. Cortisol, adrenaline, let's do this thing, right? And so what do you just crave all the time? Sugar. Cinnamon rolls and donuts, Cokes, whatever the thing is.
It's getting personal.
I know. He just kicked me under the chair and he's like, hey man, we were going to talk about this.
Okay, connect the dots for me. I'm a little slow. Why does all of that angst inside of us and that fight or flight thing require sugar? What's the connection that's going?
It's cheap, quick energy, right?
Okay.
It's boom, boom, boom. And you know what else? Your sex drive drops, right? Beyond cheap energy, you don't want to sit down for a nice steak dinner with healthy fats and a lot of greens because your digestion is shut down. Because it's sprinting for its life.
Okay.
It doesn't have time to mate while we're in a fist fight, right?
Right.
For I'm going to say for both genders here, but let's be serious. Is there anything worse than being completely stressed out and worn out, and then he comes home and just starts, so tonight right? And you just want to be like, hey, honey, here's a fun game. How about you set yourself on fire, right? Your body is trying to fight and run, right? You're in the middle of it.
Right.
And so we wonder, hey, why do I can't stop eating this stuff? Because your body is got two separate systems running, and one is saying, dude, we are under threat. And it's running, like you said, automated. It is underneath everything, going and going and going.
Yeah.
Right? Exhaustion. Finally, number 3 is this, I think, is the chief demon of our time. Isolation. You are normally a caring, good person. You love people. You got into leadership to serve. You run your businesses to help other people solve challenges in their daily lives. Of course, you want to make a lot of money, but most of you want to make money because you want to help your families. You want to change your family trees. You want to make sure your kids have the best, all those things. And suddenly you find yourself saying, I don't care. Suddenly you find yourself like, I'm not texting back. I'm going to quit hanging out. I'm not going out tonight. Good folks. I'm going to stop calling, right? You start to think, whatever. Right? You think, I don't have the energy for even dealing with myself. I can't care for you too. You start hitting silence when your mom or a friend or your wife calls or your husband calls. Literally, because you just can't. Like phone calls will come in and I'll think to myself, dude, it's like I'm pissed at them.
Yeah.
Somebody that I love is reaching out to say hello.
Because they're just piling on what you're already feeling.
Yeah, but think about the insanity. Somebody I love is calling to say, hey man, how are you? And I go, come on, dude. I can look at my phone like I'm talking to an inanimate object, right? I'm talking to a person through an inanimate object, right? Or, I don't know if you've ever done this. The answer is yes. I sit in my driveway for like 10 or 15 minutes after I get home. I just pull in the driveway.
Yeah.
I love my kids. I do. I love them. I love my wife. And I sit in my driveway and I just go, and I just scroll. I listen to a podcast. Like, I'm not even an Instagram guy. I'm not like a fan, but I feel like I just can't, right? Yeah. It's isolation, right? So you find yourself here. Nothing you do matters. You're exhausted. Your body says, I'm out. You don't care about people anymore. You don't care about yourself anymore. And here's where the Nagoski sisters really connected the dots for me here. That this is a cycle, a physical cycle. It's a process. And once your body detects threat, it's got to go through the cycle. You got to let it run its course, right? So you get these emotional signals. By the way, emotions are just alarms, dude. We have made such a we worship these emotions.
Yeah.
Anger, shame, frustration. I'm pissed off. I'm scared, terror, annoyance. These are just alarms, man. They're just signals. They point us in directions about things we care about, things we're worried about, right? They're not to be sprayed on our loved ones or ignored, right? Or numbed. If every time you came to a set of traffic lights, you just closed your eyes and hit the gas, it's not great, right? You're going to end up in a mess, right? So every time you feel scared, you reach for a drink, right? Every time you feel lonely or ashamed or somebody just said, man, you screwed that up, and you feel that worthlessness. Yeah. And you call your girlfriend or you go to internet porn or you go, whatever your thing is, right? You just start separating. You're burned out. Your body and your mind and friends are signaling to you, danger, 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 right? These emotions. When your body sounds the alarms, you got to feel them, acknowledge them, and then you just got to complete the stress cycle, right? And it sounds so cliche and cheesy, and all you got to do is this, right? It's like, hey man, how do I lose weight? Diet and exercise. Cool, thanks, man, right? It's simple, and there's like a $90 trillion industry, right? So here's what you do. A couple of things. Just one big thing. Before I tell you some things you can do, let me just tell you, if anybody ever says, hey, you want to know the 5 steps to lose weight? I instantly am like, I'm out. That's too reductive. It's stupid. It's just like, whatever. Or here's 11 steps to look younger and be a good leader. Idiot. I'm out, right? I'm just going to turn it off or I'll scroll past it or whatever, right? But today I'm going to give you 3 steps, right? 3 things you can do to solve.
We're immediately deleting all those blog posts that, the 5 things, the 7 things, the 9 things. We're getting all those off our website as we're speaking.
I'm just a guest. So after I leave, they're going to do a follow-up webinar to undo all the things I'm saying, right?
No.
Here's 3 things you can do to solve, heal from burnout, right? Or as the Nagoski sisters say, to complete the stress cycle, okay? Some of you may roll your eyes at this. I'm asking you to dig in. This is clinically accurate. This is psychologically and medically accurate, physiologically accurate, and quite honestly, it's spiritually accurate. If you'll plug in with me here, you're going to know.
Can I say something really quick? It's also practically accurate because y'all are sending your questions in, which I totally appreciate. We're going to get to your questions here after a little while, but you are reading our mail.
Is it blowing in?
You are reading our mail.
Awesome. Okay. So number one, we're going to go in an opposite order than most people would think. You have to reconnect and stay connected to yourself. Human 101. You've got to learn how to be a person again. You got to connect to yourself. We live in a culture that's encouraged us to completely and totally outsource our lives, lose touch with ourselves. Fitbits. I'm wearing a Whoop strap right now, a sleep tracker. I'm trying to learn what my body's signals are when I'm tired, when I'm exhausted, when I'm frustrated, and I'm using data to do it because I'm out of touch. Dude, and I live on a farm with chickens. I'm in it, man. I'm like, my wife says I was born in the wrong century. I don't know how someone can be more in touch with themselves, and I'm out, right? You got automated bill pay, you got apps, administrative assistants. My friend has a water bottle that reminds her to drink, right? We've outsourced thirst, right? We don't even know if we feel bad anymore. Our knees just always hurt. Our heads and backs are always tight. We're always racing to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. This is our way of life. It's not a one-time event. And you've all heard about the oxygen mask analogy. This is deeper than that. If you're not well, no one around you who you lead can be well. And wellness is not an event. It's a way of being. So here's a couple of simple, free, and transformative things you can do to reconnect with yourself. Okay? They're free and they're simple. Here's what's awesome. You can't unhear this. If you have no interest in changing your life or being uncomfortable for the next season, turn this thing off because you can't unhear what I'm about to tell you. Okay?
Yep.
Number 1, you have to move your body. Exercise. Your body has to discharge those chemicals and those hormones. When you detect a threat, sets it off. Lift weights, walk, ride a bike. Seriously, do yoga, take jujitsu. I don't care. You have to move your body. Period. You and I are both hunters. We talk about when a deer gets spooked in the woods. Yep. It floods its body with those fight or flight chemicals. It will sprint to the other end of a field and stop, look around, and when it feels safe, it has a flutter. There's like a name for it.
Yeah, rigor.
That's what it's called?
That's what I call it.
Rigor?
It's a rigor.
It's a rigor. Falcons, everybody. But
I've got some books.
Their body will literally shake. It will discharge that extra energy. If you talk to mental health practitioners, to medical practitioners, they'll tell you one of the most important things you can do for depression, for anxiety, for PTSD, for ADHD, for all these things we've thrown out there as maladies, move your body. Exercise, right? Number 2, again, free. Sleep. There is no mental illness on planet Earth that is not attached to sleep problems, right? There's just not.
Wow.
Especially with good, deep REM sleep, right? Sleep. I've gone to set an alarm in the evenings. I track my sleep. I'm trying to learn how to do it better. It's about caffeine. I hardly drink any alcohol anymore. And I was going to say I love drinking. But
we're aficionados of a good glass of bourbon.
I do like bourbon, right? But my data is telling me alcohol disrupts your deep REM sleep, right?
Yeah. It sounds like you're naming off things that like you can't cause sleep to happen, but you can create the conditions to allow it to happen. Is that accurate?
It just happens naturally. Yes.
Okay.
And so we get so focused on trying to solve the problem.
I need the 7 hacks for better sleep.
I've got to solve anxiety. Right. It's like, well, dude, create a world where you're not anxious. And then anxiety goes away because it's just an alarm saying, hey, things are busted, right?
Yeah.
So you have to solve for sleep. right? And we'll get to, I know some questions, this will come up. I'll let those, we'll let some tactical questions go there. Number 3, this is big, 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 big. We live in a culture that has dissolved this one. And honestly, rightfully so, right? But it's gone real far. And it's number 3 is human touch. We are co-regulated. Dr. Huberman, the HR director just walked in, so it's good.
I'm here to help.
We're here to help. We have to be in physical contact with other people. Good, energizing touch, right? Hand holding, hugs, touching your kids. I recommend parents touch your kids on the face every single day, multiple times a day, right? There's lots of nerve endings in the human face, hands, feet. Good, carefree, connected sex with one partner, right? Even if you have to hold, if you've got to have connection with a pet. I wish it wasn't. I used to roll my eyes at, helping pets. The research, if you've got a pet that you care about, right? Cats or dogs, whatever.
You made fun of the emotional support iguana earlier in the talk, so now I'm confused.
I'm just saying. But you got to have you got to have touch, right? You've got to have compassionate embrace. You've got to have care.
Yeah.
Now, in the workplace, man, we've had generations of minor and major assault, right? People touching people when they shouldn't be, right? So we've had to take it all out. At one of my places before I worked here, at the HR onboarding session, they encourage the air high five so that people aren't confused. And I just remember going like, whoa, we're in a new world now, right? We have to connect with each other, okay? I'm sorry, we got 2 left. 1, you got to detach. This is from some fascinating new research. There's a great book out. It's a quick book, but it's called Chatter by, I think it's K-O. The book's called Chatter. Google it and read it. It's pretty quick. Talk to yourself in the third person. When you journal, write to John. When you are talking about family issues, write to the Delonis, the Falcons. Here's why. Your brain has different operating circuits, and I hate to use mechanized language or tech language to describe the human body, but this is awesome. When you think about I need to, I am, we are, your brain has a system for solving that. You're in it, right?
Yeah.
It's why you and your wife can go a month and have some really dysfunctional conversations, but one of your employees comes up to you and says, hey man, me and my wife are struggling for a few things, and you can go, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this.
Right.
When you detach, when you distance from the problem, another operating system in your head goes to work.
Right.
And it can solve that problem, right? And it doesn't feel like it has to go to fight or flight because that's their issue, not I issue, right? So I've gone to, when I write in my gratitude journal, when I journal, I write to John. This sounds cheesy. I roll my eyes like crazy. There's a difference when LeBron James is talking about, and sports psychologists train athletes to do this.
Yeah.
When he's talking about, hey man, I'm just working through some of my challenges. I'm a dad, I'm a kid, but on the court or in business, he'll switch. LeBron James has to take care of LeBron James. That is somebody over there doing superhuman things, right? And there's a distance there. So detach from some of these things. Be curious about your emotions. Instead of driving and going, I can't believe, stop. Yeah. And then think, hey, John, what are you so mad about? Right?
Right.
Hey, John, why are you sitting in your driveway when your kids are in the house? Just be curious with yourself, right? And then the last one, use the off button. The off button. Crazy, everybody. You are in control of your phones, of your screens. I got this really incredible watch. I think this one's from this new store called Walmart, and it's like $29. It's a Timex. It just
tells time.
Yeah. Nobody talks to me with it. It's not like the Jetson. Just use the off button, right? Okay. So those are a couple things you can do for free.
Can I circle back on one of them?
Yep.
Somebody had a question. I think this is really interesting. For those that have trauma that don't handle touch very well, how do you overcome this? So
that's awesome. I love that question.
Yep.
So if you have trauma in your past, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and human touch is a weapon. That's why sexual abuse especially, but physical abuse are so evil, because they weaponize one of the things that we have to have, right? It's like weaponizing food or air,
Right,
right?
right.
What if oxygen killed you? Then you're going to die, right?
Right.
So you have to know that I got to have touch, which means I have to go be about healing those traumas.
Yep.
I can't avoid them anymore.
Yep.
And I've had to do it. People I love have had to do it. It's part of recognizing, oh, I've got to breathe, right? I have to have touch. Therefore, I've got to go heal and deal with these traumas. I got to take the bricks out of my backpack that I carry every day, set them down.
Yep.
And you probably have to work with a psychologist or a counselor. You're gonna have to work with a group of people you can be honest and open with, but you got to deal with it. That's a great question, man.
Thank you.
And a part of healing is learning good boundaries, right?
Right.
You're not welcome to touch, right?
Yeah.
I'm not hugging you.
Right.
My wife is awesome about that. People will come up to do this to her and she'll go, right? She'll put her hand out. And so I love it, right? You'll develop boundaries, right? All right. So second thing you got to do, stay connected to your mission, right? Why are you doing this? Do you even want to be doing this? Some of your businesses look very different now. Some of your businesses are hanging on by a thread. Some of you took jobs at small companies that are now massive companies, right? Stop and reconnect to your mission. Who do I want to be? Is this the job that I love? Do I still want to be doing this, right? And here's the personal part. Where's your family in all this? What kind of dad or mom or sister or brother do I want to be? Do I want to be the sister who lives in Manhattan all by myself because I'm great? Do I want to be that? If I do, great. But just at least stop and ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Because if you're disconnected from your mission, it's a threat. Your body's running. Your body this is another great book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Your body's keeping the score, whether you're thinking about it or not.
Right.
And you and I talked about this earlier. When you reconnect to your mission, who do I want to be? That creates a to-do list, right? And you taught me this the other day. When you create a to-do list, you also are creating a not to-do list,
That's right?
Yeah. I love that. You were creating I want to be an in-touch dad. I want to be a connected father. I want to be a great husband.
Yeah.
That means I'm going to turn my phone off.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be a guy. I can't be a guy who scrolls Instagram all day and a connected dad, right?
And maybe I leave it in the car when I walk in the house.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I'm going to be a guy that when I leave the office, that phone goes into my glove compartment and I can't take it out at home, right? Because that's a not to-do list, right? Make sure your mission is doable. And I hear this a lot. Reframe the meaning of your mission. So let's say I've got a lot of friends and family and loved ones in Texas. You run a small air conditioning company. You got into air conditioning and plumbing because you wanted to transform air conditioning and plumbing and care in the state of Texas. And then the power grid went out. Texas didn't have enough electricity for some of their people.
Right.
You may have heard, right? So suddenly your mission isn't possible because the world has changed around. I want to teach children the power of strength and teamwork and discipline through martial arts. And then your local county closes your gym for you, right? Often you can't change the whole world, but you can deeply impact the individuals you come into contact with, right? You can ensure they're treated with dignity, with respect. You show up on time. You make sure that your prices are fair. And if you screw something up, you say you're sorry. So maybe your mission is not to change AC and plumbing, but it's to make sure everyone who comes in contact with you is a little more peaceful after they're done interacting with you than before. Maybe you serve the kids in your community. And so if your gym closes, man, you are out there delivering food to kids. You are out there delivering school lunches. You become a coach at a local high school, whatever it is, right? Your mission has to be something you can do. So reevaluate your mission, all right? And then finally, this is the big one. You have to reconnect and stay connected to others. You cannot do life alone. I said this earlier. I believe that loneliness is the chief demon of the 21st century, right? 10,000 years ago, if you woke up on the plains and you found yourself totally alone, your tribe had moved on without you, you were gonna die, right? When your body detects that it's alone, it sounds the anxiety alarms, the depression alarms, the ADHD alarms, the addiction alarms. Loneliness is a red alert terror for your body. This isn't woo-woo. This isn't drama. This isn't spiritual mumbo jumbo. This is your body trying to keep you alive, right? And by the way, you've heard the sayings, 70 to 80 to 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Right.
We've outsourced all our communication to this.
Yeah.
Right. So we got 15 or 10% of communication.
Right.
We are transferring info. We are not connected.
Yeah.
Right.
We're routers. We're not people.
oh my gosh, that was genius, dude. You should do this for a living, right? I don't care if you're a billionaire, a millionaire, a single mom. You have to be in a group, period. And you have to be in it now. At some point, you will be in a group, whether it's AA, whether it's court mandated, or whether it's something you join, right? And here's a couple of caveats. Can't be your kids. Can't be your spouse. They can't be your group. We melt our spouses with our work drama. We melt our spouses with our stress. And man, we live in a culture that we expect our kids to prop us up, right? We expect them to perform on the fields to make us feel good, to perform in a classroom or on a stage to make us feel good. We expect them to laugh at our jokes and to follow our rule. Dude, we are killing our kids, man. We're killing our kids. It's wrong. Don't use your children to prop up your ego, your sense of how the world works, right? And I'm going to go one step further. You can't be in super close connection with people you work with. It's got to be outside groups, right? When I was negotiating with Dave Ramsey to work here.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a fun adventure. You should try sitting across a negotiating table with Dave Ramsey. You're going to lose. But one of the last things I asked him when we're sitting around this table, because I knew about the research, I've worked with leaders who've just imploded over and over. I still coach leaders all over the country.
Yep.
They find themselves super alone. I looked at Dave and said, who do you listen to? Who keeps you accountable? Off air, behind closed doors. And man, that dude rattled off. This group, I meet with this group regularly. I have this group going. I talk to these guys on a regular basis. And I remember getting out in the parking lot of this building, calling my wife and saying, Dave Ramsey and I disagree on a lot of things, but I trust him because he's got a group of people in his life that he talks to and that he listens to, right? Yeah. Research makes it clear you cannot be well if you do not have social connection and friends, right? Friends, this is like the little Ramsey plug here. Friends are your emergency fund for life. It's not if somebody's going to get cancer, one of your parents is going to pass away, your business is going to have big hiccups, the economy is going to whatever. It's when. Yeah. Other people are your emergency fund for life. Yeah. Here's how you know really quick when you've got a friend or a community. You can tell them the good stuff. One of my favorite stories is one of my oldest friends in the world, Todd. He called me and let me know he got laid off on the same day I made the bestseller list with my book. And I remember hearing him and being heartbroken for him. Like, man, I'm so sorry. Your kid's okay. He makes way more money than me, so I'm not super feeling bad. But it was a soul thing, right? It hurt,
right?
And then I was like, oh, hey, well, I got you. I made the bestseller list, and he was like, for your little skinny pamphlet book, and I was like, shut up, dude. But then he said, hey, man. So I was able to tell him great news, and he told me bad news on the same call. Right? I can tell him good stuff. You can tell people when you violate your own rules, right? And then you can tell your friends who hurt you. Right? Hey, man, my boss really crushed me this week. And my wife said this and it hurt, man. If you don't have this network, you got to do the hard and messy work of building relationships that requires you putting yourself out there. I got Kevin, Jeff, Michael, Randall, Steve, Jean-Noel, Brett, Lynn, and Steve, right? JP. I got some of my older friends, right? Like Craig and Tucker and some of these guys I've known for 30 years who have no problem calling me and saying, hey, you're being an idiot, right? Or, hey, man, everything okay? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So listen, LeBron James, one of the greatest, like he's an extraordinary basketball player, right? He has a nutritionist, a workout coach, a basketball coach, a shooting coach, a defensive coach. You got to have professionals in your life. You got to have a community. He's also got friends. He's got an advisory board for his businesses. He's got professional business coaches around him, right? Everybody needs people. You do too, right? Hey, and speaking of this, I recently, I won't say who, someone I love and care about signed up for one of your coaches, right? One of your coaching groups, because I believe in what y'all do and they're incredible, right? You've got to have people in your life, okay?
You know, it's fascinating to me. Obviously, I totally agree. You listed off this group of people that are in your life.
Yep.
And they all, with you, have this shared experience.
Yep.
So that when you could just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
They get you because they know what you've been through. They've been through a lot of it with you.
Yeah.
The person that's sitting in the seat of the business owner doesn't have a ton of people in their ecosystem that have that same experience they do.
Right. And there's no apps for 40-year-old dudes or 40-year-old women to be like, hey, college friends don't hang out anymore. Swipe right. And it's like, hey, I'm Bill and I like cheap beer to watch games. You want to come over and not talk? And you're like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, there's no app for that.
That's right.
And you just do more work. Right.
You just turtle in more and more.
You get that's the more successful your business, the tighter and tighter that circle gets, man.
Right. Yeah. People don't understand what you're going through. They think, well, if you're a business owner, you're wealthy. Like you become this person.
And that money solves all of your problems.
That solves all of it.
Yeah, dude. It's ridiculous. One of my favorite quotes of all time is it's from a grief expert. Grief, trauma, challenge, heartbreak, hard things, they don't all demand solutions. They don't demand fixes. They demand witnesses. You gotta have other people that will have a shared experience with you over an arc of time. You have to.
So just telling my wife that she's overreacting, that she needs to calm down and hear the 3 things to do to fix the problem.
Do that.
Is that not?
That is the attitude that props up the mental health practitioners of America, right?
That's my service
what
to the industry.
Genius. Yes, congratulations. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely don't do that. Well, it is a unique place that the business owner finds himself in, because it's hard to talk about all of these issues that they have. That, like you said, their buddies from college don't have these issues. Their spouse they can't talk to. We're going to get to. We've got a couple of questions about that, but that's exactly why we've done what you mentioned. We've created groups where we can get in a group with a bunch of 8 to 10 other business owners, with one of our folks on that Zoom call, like what we're doing here, and keep that conversation A, on the rails, and B, create a safe place where somebody can say, hey, this is the thing that I think I really need to do, but I'm really struggling doing it. Or this is the thing that I can't talk to my spouse about, or this is the thing that I'm scared to do, or this is the thing that I just hope gets better, but I'm losing hope.
That's right. Or I don't have the tools to do it. I don't know how.
Right.
And we've made relationships are complex and they're hard. And for some reason, we think that since we see little kids have relationships, that we all should just know how to do it. I got 2 PhDs, man. And I didn't know how to tell my wife that I was struggling with some things.
Yeah.
I had to go meet with a professional and learn a way that I could tell her without melting her, without me firing out, and without me trying. Right. It was hard. I had to learn how to do it. Right. And so there's something about relationships, learning new tools for how to have these conversations, right?
Yeah.
And it's good when you can have a group that you can step away from, that is a shared experience that you can interact and connect with. Yeah.
You put 10 people that have got that shared experience in the same room, somebody's probably got the answer. Somebody has probably gone through it and can say, either, hey, here's what I did that didn't work.
Don't do this.
Don't tell your wife to calm down. She's overreacting, and here's the 3 things she needs to fix that.
Right.
Or they have, and they have solved it.
Yep.
And so that diversity of perspective is super valuable, isn't it?
It's not super valuable. It's essential.
Yeah.
It's oxygen, right?
Yeah.
You got to have it.
That's why when we put groups together like the ones that you're talking about, we make sure that the people have actually got a team.
Yep.
A ton of the questions that we have on here are about, okay, I appreciate all of everything that you're saying, and how do I lead people? Like, how do I help them do this stuff? How do I motivate people? How do I find people? Because so many of the problems that the business owners are facing aren't what problems, they're who problems.
That's exactly right.
And they're trying to solve for that. And so if our groups, you've got to be making, a few $100,000. You got to have a team. It's got to be something that you're not a wantrepreneur, because we protect the conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't want some yahoo in there just saying, hey, here's what I think would work good.
Right.
You got to have somebody that's got the scars, that's got the limp, that can actually speak to what's going on.
I can't give a higher recommendation for these groups than, like I said earlier, like somebody I love dearly. Is heading in, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big believer in like, hey man, for $19.95, buy my new. Like, this is something that I'm trusting people that I love.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I appreciate that and hold that very carefully, because people need to have the connection that you've talked about, want to have the connection, want to have those conversations. So I want to get to folks' question.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's why we built what we built.
Yeah.
We've got coaches that spend their days helping people do this. It's people that are doing the same kind of things. Those of you that are on here, the folks in these groups are facing the issues that, John, that you talked about today.
They're you.
They're you.
They're you.
That's right.
You're not a snowflake. I'd give you a hug. They're you, right? They're you.
Yep. Just imagine.
Stop doing this alone. Sorry, man. I'm just so.
It's okay.
Gosh,
it's
man.
okay. But I guess that's what I'm saying is just imagine not doing it alone. Being able to sit, virtually across a circle and talk to somebody, have that conversation. And go home, not overwhelmed, not exhausted, not lunging at your wife or your husband and your kids.
Your heart rate's not taking off on you.
That's right. But
imagine this.
Yep.
Imagine being able to just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Imagine most people don't even know what that kind of peace feels like, but going home and just going to bed.
Yeah.
Right. It's a totally different. It's a fantasy for some folks. What does that even mean? What does that even mean, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. And this, I'm gonna say, it's not a silver bullet, but it is a must-have part of the ecosystem that you're talking about to be in a group like this. We've got them. We do it for business owners, for people that are on here just like you, for you. Yeah. And it can be different than you're living it right now.
I promise.
It absolutely can. So we want to answer your questions. If you're interested in that, you'd like to know more about that, go to EntreLeadership.com/apply. See if you're a good fit for the groups. Like I said, we don't just put anybody into them.
What is it?
EntreLeadership.com/apply. Right there.
Right in front of the screen. Do it. Hey, do it. Just do it. Okay. Do it.
Yep, absolutely. And talk to one of our advisors and see if it's a fit for you. Because that's what we want. That's what we're here for.
And if they don't pick you, you're still nice and you're pretty and all that stuff.
That's right.
You're still handsome. Whatever.
That's right. It's not a self-worth thing.
Do it.
We just want to make sure that the groups are full of people that want to see this difference in themselves and be a part of a group of people that want that for everybody in the group.
That's right.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Let's get into the questions. Let's do it, man.
I love that. All right. Matt asks, what suggestions do you have to reconnect with the ability to process all of the challenges and responsibilities? Seems like burnout leads to this slippery slope of not being able to assess or conquer what we have. So it's almost like I feel like I'm on this slope of the diminishing returns, right? Burnout begets burnout.
Yeah.
Easy for you to say. What are your suggestions to actually do that reconnection piece with the ability to process all of this?
So I'm going to take a quick couple of notes so I don't forget. I think one of the most important things to do is build in time, not every month, not every year, every week, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's half a day. And by the way, as a leader, this is your job, right? Yeah. This is your responsibility. Sit down and write things down. What are the shoulds? What are the have tos? What are the musts? Write them down. And then what I want you to do is mine them for evidence. Demand evidence from those things you wrote down, right? So I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. Do I have to go get my oil changed this week? Does that have to happen this week? And what you do is all those thoughts get jumbled up in your head.
Yep.
And they start to weigh you down. Once you can detach, put them here and do this, then I can go, Tom and HR will do that. She'll do that. These are my 7 things, right? Yeah. And you create space for yourself, but it has to be intentional. And by the way, just so you can, in my life, in my house, my wife and I do this every single week. It's the only way we stay married, right? It's the only, it's the only way. So this week, we went and bought 2 more whiteboards, one on the inside of the pantry. I wanted it just in the middle of the living room, and my wife said, that's ridiculous. No. It's inside of the pantry, and I put another one down in our basement, what you have to see, so that we always stay on the same page. And we're still trying to figure it out, but every single week at my home, every single week at my work, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to write this stuff down and see what is real, what is not, who else can take some of this, and then I'm going to go get these things and only those things.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know, you zipped by something earlier that I want to hit on because I do that. Of all the things you've said, this is one of the things that I do that has made a real difference, and I know there's science behind it. You said gratitude journal.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Writing down 2 to 3 things every day that you're 5.
I do things. 5. Yeah.
Talk about that. Why is that a thing?
There's it's a physiological thing. It's a biochemical process. I think Martin Seligman, I think it's Martin Seligman, one of the most important discoveries of the last 100 years in psychology research is that optimism is a learned behavior.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
You see things in the world that you focus on. And so if you do a gratitude journal, and mine costs $9 at Walmart, I'm going to create one.
No, you said $19.95 earlier and includes a pom-pom.
Yeah.
And he's mixing the deal up on us in here.
Hey, I'm going to come up with a Deloney gratitude journal. I'm going to sell it for $50.
The price just doubled.
You're welcome to buy it, right? But mine is $9 from Walmart. And I start every single day of my life with 5 sentences I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful that I woke up in an air-conditioned home. I don't care what they are.
Yeah.
But what it does is, over time, it orients you to begin looking for things that are going right in your life, not just constantly focusing on the threats.
Yep.
And this is science. This is not woo-woo hippie stuff.
Hippy-dippy baloney.
It's for real.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Hippy-dippy baloney is what Lord Business calls it from the Lego movie.
I don't even know what that means, but it's cool.
That's okay. I don't know what woo-woo means.
You.
Yes. Okay. All right. So next question. Thank you. That was awesome. Also, while you guys are typing in your questions, don't forget the link, EntreLeadership.com/apply for one of our advisory groups. It's like having your own board. It's like having your own group where you can actually talk through this stuff and do the work that we're talking about with a group of people that totally get it. All right. Ricky asks, how do you get past the feeling of having to be there for your team when you know you're burnout and you can't give them what you need?
Okay, who's that, Ricky?
That's Ricky.
I'm coming for you, Ricky. All right?
I'm with Ricky, so you're coming for both of us.
If you feel like I have to be there, that is an ego issue. That is an issue that's a choice you have made.
What's the sticker on my laptop right there?
Ego is the enemy, right? Ryan Holiday, right? If you create a world as a leader where you have to be there, that means you have not hired people or trained people that you trust. That means you have created a world where it can only function if you're there. That is a world that is destined to implode. It's going to crash. It will not succeed. It will end. And usually it ends with you and your family on the bottom of it. And people who have left their jobs to come work for you and their families under the bottom of this thing.
Yeah.
So you have to create a world where people are cross-trained, where people can do your job. What does that mean? You're replaceable, right? And then when you become replaceable, then you can do higher level thinking. You can begin to think, what could our business go? Are people catching up with us? Do we need to make business shifts? We need to try other things. But it gives you space to breathe, right?
Yep.
You are of no value to your family, to your community, or to your workplace if everything in your world needs you to survive.
Yeah.
And I'm watching Dave Ramsey peel his name off the building of his company as he is slowly doing this. And is it hard? Yep.
Yes.
Is it uncomfortable? Yep. I co-hosted his show the last day he said, this is the Dave Ramsey show. He wept.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
None of this is easy, but it's right.
Right.
So Ricky, you step back and say, I'm going to take my top 2 leaders, and if you don't have them, go hire them.
Yeah.
And make sure that I can go away and this place keeps going.
Yeah.
Right?
If you can't do that, ultimately, you don't own a business. You just own your job.
That's right. You own your job.
And you're stuck there.
Yeah.
You're stuck on that treadmill. And what you just said, that the ability to do all that in just a word is delegate. And your business, what you're doing, the fulfillment of your mission will get no bigger than your ability to do what you just described.
Man. And I just came back from being on vacation for just 1 week. We went camping at a KOA, and I showed back up here, and I'm just a better human to be around at the workplace, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've noticed a big difference. All right. The before and after the KOA. All right. So Sean asks, going to take my cell phone off my business card, right? Going to remove my cell phone number off my business card and change my voicemail recording to tell people politely to call the office instead of calling me on my cell. What do you think about that? Good move? He's giving, huh?
I was going to say, don't put your cell phone on your business card.
I think we got our answer.
Don't ever put your cell phone on your business card. That is not an accessibility issue. That is a inferiority complex.
Yeah.
That is a flex. Oh, yeah? Well, you can always reach me. There's that one when Dwight has like 7 on The Office, right? He's got like 3 pagers and 4 cell phones. And
Yeah.
Yes. So to be, not to be a jerk, Sean, yes, that's a great first step.
Yep.
What I would even go further as to say, you don't owe anybody on your answering machine an explanation for your boundaries.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
Don't answer your phone.
Yeah. It's
right?
codependence.
It's an addiction.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Answer the call at your home. I mean, at the office.
So let's say you've painted such an accurate picture of what burnout is like and the different components of it. But let's say you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting here, you're listening to you talk through this, and you're like, crap, that is me.
Yep.
I'm burnout. I'm burnout on people. I'm jaded from relationships and people. Like, what would you say would be a baby step that you could take, a very small thing? Where do you start when you don't even, it's like, I'm not struggling with desiring for a relationship or connection. I'm past that. I don't have it.
I'm broken.
I'm broken.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to start.
So I can tell you in my own life, about a decade ago, I found myself there, right? Completely fried. I was a third rail. I was hard to be in a room with. My teams that I was over multiple divisions. I was over a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I was hard to be in a room with, right? And I'll never forget walking across campus at the university where I worked, and I turned around and got back in my car, and I drove 3 hours to another city and met with a doctor.
Yeah.
He's a buddy of mine, but I walked into his office and said, dude, I need help, right? Over the next year, my wife and I transitioned out. We took a $70,000 household income pay cut to go to another city, to take another job.
Yeah.
But I had to look at my whole system, right?
Your whole ecosystem.
And dude, now that $70,000 investment has paid off. We're doing great.
Yeah.
But it took some major changes. And so what I would tell you, if you found yourself completely fried, you got to turn all the lights on at the disco, turn the music off, and just go look in the mirror and say, today's going to be the day that we call somebody.
Yeah.
And sometimes that starts with calling a therapist and just saying, I'm not okay. I need to talk to somebody today.
Yeah.
If you've got a trusted friend, if you've got somebody who's been ride or die with you for years, you call them and say, hey, we need to meet tonight. I'm not doing okay.
Yeah.
And another thing is begin to write these things out.
Yeah.
Write a letter to yourself and begin to get some of the stuff out of there. And you can see it, right?
Yeah.
But the key is to not just keep thinking about it.
Right.
This sounds like the most ridiculous thing ever. I had Jocko was there the other day. This is one of the best mental health books I've ever read. And that sounds ridiculous. Because a lot of this stuff
activation therapy
is about go do something.
Right? Just do it. Take action.
Go do something. So many of us are struggling and we get lost in our heads and it loops and loops and loops. Make the phone call.
Yeah.
Join a group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Make the call. I got a partnership with betterhelp.com/Delona. You can go get an online therapist at your house right now. Call somebody.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. More questions. Let's see. How do you address employees that you see burn out? When they're starting to melt down, somebody on your team, how would you approach them?
I love that. Okay, so a couple things. Number one, if you wait until somebody's burning out to address it, not a good leader. Okay. So you address. I know. So here we are.
We got it.
I know. It is what it is. That's what it is. So I'm going to back up and then we'll get to it.
Okay.
So you got to have systems in place for your employees.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't be their marriage counselor. You can't be their clinician, right? You can't be their advice go-to coach guy on all things, right? You've got to have systems in place, whether it's a mentoring system, whether it's a leadership development program, whether it's resources with the local counseling center that you subsidize, whatever that looks like for your little business.
Yeah.
You've got to have systems, right? Somebody comes and talks to you and says, hey, I'm not doing well. You see them starting to fray. Or you got a great employee that all of a sudden they start coming in late. They start, whatever. You have a moral and ethical and spiritual and just human obligation to get them off site if it's appropriate, or to have a low pressure conversation and say, you're not okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on. Right. You have the days of you leave work at work and home at home, those days are over.
Yeah.
Right. You can't have a good employee who's not well at home perform well for you there. Right. So you can't solve their marriage problems, but you can sit down and say, the last few weeks, you're off, man. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And then they can say, my dad's got cancer. My whatever has got whatever. They still got to do their job. If you can afford and have resources to move things around so they can go get that space, awesome. If you don't, then you have some good, clarifying, real, hard conversations. But avoiding it is the worst thing, right? It's like watching somebody slowly drown, man. And you're the leader. You got to go get in the middle of that thing and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
Here's what I can do for you. The rest of it is up to you. But I love you. I care for you. I may be able to let you go at 3 every day, or you're not going to come in until noon, until school starts, whatever that looks like.
Right.
I think we all learned lessons in flexibility this past year that were good. Some of them were not good, but you got to get right in the middle of it. That's what a leader does.
Yep, absolutely. That's leading.
It's leading.
Right.
Get uncomfortable or get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's right.
Yep. Okay, here is a tough one. How do you not only overcome business burnout, which I think you've pretty largely addressed, but here's the kicker. When it is compounded by the death of a spouse.
Yeah. Work comes way, way, way second from that.
Yeah.
When somebody that you love, a spouse passes away, your parents pass away, you lose a child, everything stops.
Yeah.
Right? Everything stops. Going back to that redundancy conversation, that's when those moments, they're not ifs, but the when.
Yeah.
Right? You've got people who can take over for you for a season.
Yeah.
Right? That's why other people are your emergency fund for life.
Yeah.
I've sat with people whose husband was dead in the next room, and they've looked at me and said, we have no will. We got nothing. Like, they're going to go to work on Monday.
Yeah.
It's one of the most heartbreaking things.
Yep.
If you have found yourself there now, it is a stop the presses, rally your team together and say, here's where I am. I'm hurting. I'm struggling. I can't get out of bed. And I need folks who are willing to step up in this season. Here's what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got to be open and vulnerable. We live in a culture that goes after weakness, right? We've seen the Simone Biles stuff right now all over the news.
Right.
One of the greatest athletes the world's ever known just said, I can't today. Right. And everyone's heaping an attack and whatever.
Right.
So it's leadership, man.
Yeah.
It's knowing your limits and saying, part of my heart died.
Yeah.
And I've got to stop.
Yeah.
Right.
That not only is the thing to do for you as the leader, but talk about what it does for your team when they see their leader be that vulnerable and that honest with them.
So one of my favorite leadership lessons I ever learned, I was working at a university, and Dr. John-Will Thompson, he's one of my most important mentors. He was the vice president. There was 4 of us, and we were having a hard conversation about how to do this program or that or this or that. And it got to be 5 o'clock, and we're all meeting, and we just went. We were just going for it.
Right.
And he was brand new vice president. And at 5, he gets up and starts putting his coat on and getting his books in his bag and everything like that. And we're still talking. And then he starts heading for the door. And we all looked at him, and he looked back at us and said, guys, I love y'all. And I'll never forget this. He said, guys, I love y'all, but I love them more. Y'all turn the lights out when you're done. And he walked out. And as a vice president, as the leader of that division, that was one of the greatest lessons I've ever seen, which is, if that's not okay, none of this is okay.
Yeah.
If you will be vulnerable with your employees, if you will have a core group of, not vulnerable like, we don't know what's going to happen, we're all going to die. That's not leadership, right? That's acting like a child. But when the pandemic kicked off, Dave had a virtual staff meeting because they closed down the city.
Right.
And he gave every Monday, here's the cash position of our company.
Yeah.
This is what it is. If we have to do layoffs, here's the order these will happen.
Yep.
And then he started doing, which I still to this day can't believe, here's where I was wrong last week.
Yeah.
David Ramsey would announce to the company, here's where I screwed up last week.
Yeah.
Here's how much money we have in the bank. That level of transparency there was no drama, no gossiping. It allowed all of us to be honest with our teams and our people, and allowed us to be vulnerable. It just sends a breath of like just pure oxygen through your organization.
Yeah. Makes it safe for them to turn around and do the exact same thing.
That's exactly right.
Listen, y'all, I know there's a ton of questions. We're never going to get to all of them, which I absolutely hate. But still, go to EntreLeadership.com/apply and take your question to one of our advisors.
Yeah, dude.
They're going to talk with you. They'll talk through it with you. We want to help you. I want you to just imagine being able to sit in a conversation and talk to somebody that's been through what you've been through, or face the same thing that you're facing, or do the work that Dr. Deloney's talked about here today. Just imagine what that is like, and not being alone.
Yeah.
That's a completely different place. And listen, if it's not a fit for you and you just want to get your question answered, that's fine. That's fine. Still, please fill out the form, and we just want to talk to you. That's our avenue to have the conversation with you and help you get in a good place with the issue, with the question that you have, and also have the conversation, see if one of these groups is a fit for you. We'd love to have you in them.
It'd be awesome, man.
Thanks a ton for being here today.
Thanks, man.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks to you good folks for taking an hour and a half of your life to invest in you.
Hey, before we go, you named a couple books. The stack's pretty big.
Okay.
One or two more.
Here's a couple of books. Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Code by the Nagoski sisters. The Body Keeps the Score. It's more of a sciencey read. If you're a nerd, it's awesome. This is the number one book of all time for me. It's called I Don't Want to Talk About It. I can't stand the subtitle, Overcoming the Secret Legacy of Male Depression. It makes me be like, oh.
That book sucks.
Yeah, it sucks because
No, that book is awesome. It sucks to read it.
It's yeah.
I highly recommend it.
I haven't had somebody read my mail. It's called I Don't Want to Talk About It by Terrence Real. A great human being. We spent some time at Dave's last year.
Yeah.
James Clear, Atomic Habits is just a great, clear,
That's
simple
solid.
book. And those of you who are struggling to deal with your own junk, whose parents maybe weren't great, this book, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, it is by Lindsay Gibson. I highlighted more of this book than I didn't. It's extraordinary, and I recommend this book to a lot of folks. If you're just thinking about doing stuff, your own work, this is a great, great place to start.
I love it. Thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see all of y'all.
Take care of yourselves. You are worth it. Your kids are worth it. Your spouses are worth it. Your team's worth it. Take care of yourself, okay?